Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the press. You all know who I am. This is a historical occasion, and I'm extremely pleased to welcome you all here to witness the first operational parking meter in the city of Georgetown. We're creating history, as I've said. We've asked you to come so that we can introduce the persons who are most important with regard to this project and to give you a little demonstration as to how it actually operates. Let me begin by introducing Mr. Amir Oren. Many of you know him already. Amir is I've got to get these titles right, Managing Director of Business Development, Global Operations. To Amir's right, many of you have not yet met him, is Mr. Simon Moshel. He has a longer name than that, but I'm going to confine it to Moshel at the moment. Simon is the Managing Director of Operations International as well. These are the two major owners of Smart City Solutions. We have, of course, the most important person of all, and Mr. Royston King, who needs absolutely no introduction. He is well known to all of you and represents the City Council. Carlos Gochez, where is he? Is here. Come forward, Carlos. Carlos is our General Manager in Georgetown and directly responsible for what goes right and hopefully nothing wrong.
Hopefully.
In Guyana. I will introduce Alicia a little later on, and John Daniels, who is our operations manager and a former traffic chief. I'm first going to ask Royston to say a few words. Royston King.
Thank you very much.
Royston, you better come and stand.
Good morning, members of the media, our partners with Smart City Solutions. I have with me Assistant Town Clerk, Ms. Sherry Jarrick. I have the Chief Constable, Mr. Andrew Fu. He will be directly responsible for the security of these meters, which are in fact city properties. And I have Officer Bancroft and I have Engineer Kelman, who will be working directly with Smart City Solutions to ensure that the meters are placed correctly on our pavements, on our sidewalks. Let me say, first of all, I really welcome this bold move, this bold initiative, this in Guyana unprecedented project, and I want to say how happy I am that we were finally able to install the meters and to have them operable in January, just around the 9th, 2017. And I really want to thank the Smart City Solutions people for moving so swiftly to have these meters installed. As you know, we work in our bylaws, and we're in process of getting them published. Let me say that this project has utility in three areas. First of all, we're looking at environment and sustainability. The other area is infrastructure development, and the third area is city economics. I wish to also let you know that monies garnered from this project will be reinvested to upgrade roads and allied facilities, including sidewalks, to develop cycling lanes, and also to install and operate a city transit system, particularly for our senior citizens and our children, that will take them not only around the city, but beyond the city. And I really want to thank Smart City Solutions and all those who work hard to install these meters. And we will have a demonstration this morning, and so you get to see how they operate. And throughout the season, no monies will be collected. Even as you park, you will just get familiar with the system until we move into the new year, January 2017. That's all I want to say for now, because we want to keep it short. And any other questions you wish to ask, you can ask at the end of the statements by Amir. Thank you very much.
Mr. Amir Oren.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming out. We met just a few weeks ago, and we told you that the project is just about ready to be implemented, and here we are. It's quite imminent now. I want to say thank you very much, as I've said many times, to the city. Royston, thank you very much for partnering with us from the very beginning. You were indeed very visionary to know that this is something that could help and benefit the cities in the dimensions you've spoken about, and indeed in many more, as we shall all see. Thanks to the security apparatus of the city for being here and for planning with us along the way as to the best way to implement the project. Thanks to the engineering team. Thank you to my staff. Thank you to our PR, which is I think we've done quite a bit of a great job turning public opinion, and I think we're going to do a lot more now that you'll actually see in practicality how this will work and how it will go to benefit the city and its residents and all the stakeholders indeed. As I told you a few weeks ago when we met, we are getting ready to implement the project, and you've been seeing that there's all sorts of works going on around the city in terms of construction, in terms of signs, and now in terms of the very first meters that are going up. We plan to finish all the construction works over the next couple weeks, and we plan to launch, as I've said, an introductory period where the people of Georgetown and businesses and all the stakeholders will have some time to acclimate themselves to this, which is indeed a pioneering project which will have many impacts. We plan on January 9th, Monday, to give people sufficient time to enjoy the holidays, to start this introductory period where you'll see our people on the streets manning the meters and showing motorists how to use the system. As you've seen before, the system is quite simple to use. As I've said many times before, Georgetown is neither the first nor the last to have introduced a system like this, which is very important not only to parking but to mobility. By that I'm trying to say that the system is not very complicated. This very brand of meter has been installed in some 3,500 cities in 60 countries across the world, and now it's here with Georgetown. So I think that when we launch in January 9th for this 2-week period of introduction where people will get acclimated, I think people will get acclimated quite quickly. We are very much looking forward to getting the project rolled out and to seeing all these benefits that I've been saying. And we very much think that the city, any of those persons who have been doubting, will be very much on our side and singing our praises in 6 months hence.
Here's what we're now going to do. Amir,
Yes.
Simon, Royston, between the three of you, you're going to cut that ribbon. Let's go.
There we go.
Excellent.
All right. Welcome to GeoPark.
Now I'm going to ask Alicia Best. Alicia is going to demonstrate how this works.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's a very simple process, as we've been doing before. We'll be distributing the smart cards at various locations and at our office, so we release that information to the media and the website soon. So to activate the machine, you simply click the green button. Upon clicking the green button, it will show you to enter your parking space number, which will be on the signs right by the roads. In this case, I'll enter 10202. Let's say that's my parking space number for now, and I'll click the green button. The parking space numbers will be in 5 digits. Upon that, we'll click the blue button to add the amount of time I wish to park. In this case, I click it twice to park for half an hour, and I'll click the green button to confirm once again. It will then ask me to present my card, which I'll do right here at the sensor. And it will say, please wait, and my transaction has been paid for. With that, it will tell me to place my ticket in a visible manner on my dashboard in my car, and the receipt will be printed right here. On the receipt, there is very simple information that's to guide you in terms of it will have the expiry time, up to which time you'll be able to park. It will have the date, the amount you've paid for your parking space number, and just general information that could guide our transit officers when they come to your vehicle to verify that you park and you're in compliance with everything. So thank you for that.
Where do you put the receipt?
You'll place the receipt on the dashboard of your car in a very visible manner so that when the transit officers pass, they can easily see it. So in the dashboard on your windscreen, you just place the ticket.
Now, stay right where you are, Alicia. Stay where you are. Any questions on the operation of this meter first? Anything did you want to ask about what the demonstration?
Your precision science centers, the locations where the cards will be distributed, it's not released as yet.
No, it's not released as yet. It will be released soon to the media and on our website, which will be launching soon too.
That'll be published very widely indeed. Very soon. But American.
I would add that the idea is that these should be widely available just the same way as people buy their phone cards. Okay, people are very accustomed to buying their phone cards, and it should be just as easily available, and certainly it will be available near the parking spots and in those areas. So these are the vendors that we're talking to. We're talking to the same wholesalers and vendors that sell phone cards, right? So it will be very seamless.
Something like over 80.
Should be, yeah, or more.
So I would add, separate and apart from the fact that we're providing over 100 direct jobs for people, we will have people being employed in an indirect way by selling cards and so on. So just like to make mention of that.
All right, I had hoped there might be some questions on how this operates. Since there are none, we'll take questions generally now.
Could you say, Mr. King, what are some of the changes to the bylaws we can expect to facilitate the parking?
We have not changed any of the bylaws. We're actually now introducing new bylaws to allow the parking meters to operate within the city. Those will be published within another few days within our newspapers and in the official gazette, so you will get a chance to see all the various changes on all the new bylaws and regulations that will come into being as a result of us enacting these new bylaws.
Preliminarily, what are some of the new provisions?
Well, I am not allowed to tell you now until it is published. That is part of the process. I couldn't talk about it until it is processed. So it will be published, I imagine, within another few days, and then you'll get to see, and members of the public will get to ask questions and so on.
What are the plans for the security of the parking meters?
The parking meters will be secured by the use of our own constabulary as well as assistance from the Guyana Police
I will
Force.
ask Amir to address that further.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always get a lot of questions about security, and I want to touch on this. And one of the points I was making in terms of this being installed in thousands of cities worldwide, cities that are safer, more dangerous than Georgetown is. I'm not saying where it is on the scale, but the point is that a lot of people are concerned about vandalism. There's really not much to be concerned about vandalism. Particularly in Georgetown, there's no cash in these things, right? As you've seen, this is completely cashless. People will be using these prepaid cards in order to pay for their meters. So there's really nothing to be gained from trying to open one of these and trying to extract anything. Not that that would be very much or very easily possible, because as I said, this thing has withstood thousands of cities in the test of time. It's been around, this iteration has been around for decades. In addition to that, I would say there's certainly going to be patrols that you'll see on the streets, that you'll see already on the streets. And further to that, some of the things that this has built in, it has alarms built in. So as soon as there's any sort of impact to the meter, it will set off alarms. And as I've said, there's going to be patrols, and those patrols will be directed directly to that. And then I'd leave to the city how people who might try to do this on purpose would be dealt with. So I would also say that, you know, the actual construction of the meter is one that could withstand and is made to withstand any attempts of that sort. So there's all sorts of things. You know, everyone asks always about security and vandalism. We're here, we're prepared for it, and we don't anticipate it to be a problem.
And again, I would note that these meters are really city properties, and we would hope that citizens will help us secure them so that we can have the kind of funding we need to do the works we need to do in the city and in local communities.
I'm seeing some of, in some parts of the city, some of the installations that you've done, the platforms that you've built. That's my expression. I don't know what you will call them, but they're almost encroaching on, say, private bridges and so on. Are you aware of this, and how are you dealing with that?
I didn't get the question.
I'm saying some of the concrete-based buildings that are constructed. You can observe that some of the private bridges or just in the way of, say, entrance around city property.
There's on city properties, and in most cases it'll be off the entrance. It will be just on, you won't put the meter on private bridges.
Let me respond to that, if I may. If there's any evidence of having interfered with a private driveway, then please bring it immediately to the attention of Smart City Solutions, and that will be corrected immediately, because that would be an error.
Yeah, but the other thing we need to note, Kit, and members of the media, is that we have to remember that for some time now, some businesses and other individuals has wrongly appropriated city spaces, and we're now taking them back. We're now reclaiming them because, as I said in earlier conversations with the media and at other forums, these are city spaces, and these spaces are owned collectively by all the citizens of Georgetown, and no particular individual or no private enterprise has the right to appropriate any of these spaces for private enterprise without first obtaining prior permission from the city council to do so. And so what we're doing now is really reclaiming some of the spaces that were appropriated wrongly by businesses and other individuals. So sometimes you probably would see us going close to a space that you think is private but really city space. And so that is why we're saying, if you have any evidence that this has been the case, where we have in fact gone on private space, you should bring that to the council, and we will correct that immediately. But I am sure that what we're doing is putting our meters down on city spaces throughout the city.
Now a question has come up. Length of the card.
Yes.
I have a card. I buy a card. How long does it last me for?
The card does not expire. There's no expiry date on the card. And yeah, that's basically when you purchase a card, when you use it, then it will become active and it will keep going. There's no short space of time that it's allowed for. Once you purchase, you can use it until the credit runs out, until the amount on it runs out and is depleted.
So there's a period of credit that dictates the length of time of its use.
The amount of credit on the card determines how long it will use.
I would add to that we're starting with disposable cards. We want to have a foolproof solution from the very beginning. These meters, as you know, they're very high tech. You know, they're not connected to the grid at all. They have their own power supply, which is mainly solar. They have SIM cards built in, and so they communicate in real time. That's one of the reasons that we could get the alarm, as I've mentioned. The other thing is we have to actually place them, right? It's one thing to have things in theory, but once we've placed them, we'll see which meters have what kind of actual reception. So for that reason, we're starting with a disposable card solution, right? And these disposable cards will be available in various denominations. And as a matter of fact, the higher denomination you buy, the more of a bonus you'll get. And even proportionately, the more of a bonus you'll get. So parking can actually cost less or quite a bit less if you actually buy them in higher denominations. Now, in the future, once we've seen and tested the networks and seen how that goes, there'll be also rechargeable cards that people will be able to buy. It'll be available throughout the same vendor locations that you see where you can get the disposable cards as well. All right?
I'm not sure if it got addressed. Introductory phases.
So the introductory phase is going to be starting on January 9th. You're going to see us finishing up all the construction works between now and then. And then, as I've said, what we're going to do is we're going to have our people out manning the meters and really in trying to engage motorists and teach them how to use it. And that'll be a period of 2 weeks where people will not really be expected to pay. I should say they will not be expected to pay for parking at all during those 2 weeks, but really to acclimate themselves, to get into the habit of walking up to a meter, generating a receipt. Our people will be on hands with their own cards to sort of, make the simulated payment, and then putting the receipts in their cars and the windshields on top of the dashboards. But after that 2 week period, we think that that should be enough. We're going to start with a fully live launch.
And who will be actually enforcing the law and regulations as regards parking? Would it be members of the city constabulary or other persons?
It will be members of the city constabulary, along with special city wardens that will be trained and sworn as supernumerary constables by the Guyana Police Force.
And how many of those will have overall manpower?
Overall, the wardens will be over 60 and another 20-25 city constabulary personnel.
And they will be mobile.
And they will be mobile.
So are there any provisions for person support for parking in front of business places and places of employment?
Yes, American answer that.
Yeah, so we've been speaking to different businesses. We've been meeting with them to discuss ways that we can accommodate them and their needs. And we're looking, even now, we're looking at ways to address the concerns that they've given us and figure out a solution that might work for them. That said, and as we've said many times, this is a city, right? And a city is by definition a very dense area where a lot of people come, where a lot of tourists come, where a lot of businesses operate, and where we have all these different stakeholders, and everyone seems to be fighting for a parking space. That cannot go on. All right, the utilization of and the occupancy of the parking spaces is over 100%. Especially right now, you can see we're out here at a good time. I mean, this is the holiday season. You can see what's going on out here. So these streets are not meant. If everyone was to drive into the city, then it wouldn't be able to function. It would be very much the way it is today. In fact, stifled. The growth of the city is stifled because people commandeer streets for 8 hours at a time. People put up signs and say, hey, no parking here, because they want for themselves to be able to take advantage of that sign. That cannot go on. And that's something that was recognized by the city, and it's something that's been proven all around the world. So we have to come up with a solution that balances the need for the city to be able to have proper mobility, be able to actually develop and prosper as it should, and at the same time also address the period where people will get acclimated to being able to get used to this, the having to pay for parking and not really being able to park for 10 hours at a time unless they pay for it. But we are starting slow, I would say. You'll see that the maximum amount of time that people can purchase per transaction is 6 hours. In other cities across the world, that you'll see will typically be between 1 and 2 hours. We're not starting that because we're not here to be burdensome on the people. We're here to create a solution and gradually get people to adopt to that solution.
In terms of public awareness and public information, all of the media, especially the print, but also the broadcast media, will be receiving a huge amount of information in advertisements that will start appearing from the 30th of this month.
Okay, by January 9th, that's the date when you start here. What is the total number of parking meters that will be down in the city?
So what we're aiming for in the is to have 157 exactly to be precise, parking meters that will be regulating approximately 3,200. We haven't mapped out. We have a precise figure, of course, mapped out. But as you're painting, the realities sometimes impact the theoretical. But you're going to have approximately 3,200 spaces right around January 9th, and certainly by the end of the introductory period, which are going to be served by 157 meters. Thereafter, as we've said, we're going to ramp that up to about 7,200 spaces that will be served by a total of about 320 meters as this. And then at that point, we're also going to introduce meters where you might be able to pay with currency, with paper currency, but those obviously won't be on the streets. They will be in more secure areas where there wouldn't be any concern about people trying to think that they might be able to, tamper with the meters anyway.
Let me add to that question. How many parking spaces does 1 meter manage?
So on average, the number is about 20. I mean, you could do the math just like anyone else, but it will vary because we have certain spaces that are perpendicular, certain spaces that are angled, and certain spaces that are parallel. So the idea is to lessen the amount of space that people have to, distance rather, that people would have to walk in order to, pay for parking and put the receipts in their cars.
I use this one as an example. This is... How many spaces would this particular meter?
So on average, as I said, if it's on average 20, on average you would have to walk 10 car lengths.
If you're at the
would be the maximum. Sorry, not the average. Would be the maximum that you'd have to walk because it serves spaces in both directions.
What's the least?
The least is if you park right in front of it. Yeah, so that would be the least.
What's the least amount of space that one parking meter will have?
The least.
I mean, you really need to think about it because we have it mapped out. It's not really, these parking zones kind of overlap with each other. So it's wherever, these will be very convenient. If you haven't seen one, you'll see another one. So the idea is that on average they're 20. The most you'd have to walk is 10 car lengths. That will be perhaps a little bit shorter when it comes to parallel and a little bit longer when it comes to perpendicular or angled, right? But that's really the idea.
What are boundaries presently these meters would be placed.
The boundaries of the actual grid itself where people will be
Right.
parking. I'll have John or Carlos answer that.
Okay, the boundaries for now is bounded by west, the Water Street, east by Camp Street, north by Kwamina Street, south by Brick Dam, and then we have a diversion between Brick Dam to Hatfield Street. So it will be High Street and it ends at Hatfield Street. So it's Hatfield into High Street, into Brick Dam.
That's the first phase.
That's the first phase.
When does the second phase start, Amir?
We're aiming to start the second phase within a few months of the first phase. Yeah, I mean, our idea is, like I've said, our idea is certainly to achieve all the goals that we've set out for ourselves. But at the same time, we realize this is something new and we want people to gradually acclimate themselves. We're here for the long term. We're not interested in the 1 month nor the 1 year. Okay, so we're going to assess how it goes with the first phase and how well it's adopted, which we're very confident it will be. That's why we've taken all this time to get it rolling. And then ideally, we plan to follow within 3 months, to answer your question, Kit, of the first phase and launch the second phase. And you'll see that by that time, people will be wanting the second phase to come because they'll see all the improvements that have come, all the improvements that will occur after putting in the first phase, yeah?
Right. The obvious question is, what are the boundaries of the second phase? Have they been totally decided on?
Yes, you can speak about that as well.
Okay, for now, the second phase would be bounded north by Lamaha Street, and we go forward into Albert Street. That's to the east. To the south, we'll continue into crossing Brick Dam and going to Hatfield, taking up that space, and we come back to Camp Street area where we ended the first phase. So for the second phase, it will be bounded east by Albert, west by Camp, north by Lamaha, and south by Hatfield Street.
You'll actually see a map that will be published very soon. Along with the buyers, you'll see a map.
How many meters in the first phase and how many meters in the second phase will it all be? And how soon will you be seeing a return on your investment?
So the meters, as I've said, are 157 in the first phase, rising up to about 320 regular meters in the second phase, and a number of more that will accept currency. As far as the returns on our investment, it'll be, we have a budget, but we'll see how things turn out. I mean, we hope to make a good return on our investment, which takes into account the risk that we've taken, the investment that we've made, and the operations and everything that we've put forward.
What is it? May I just help a bit with that question? Because I think what we're trying to do here is to get all the information we can out there. In terms of the cost of this project, Royston, the cost of this project to the city, what is it?
At the moment, it's zero. At the moment, it's zero. We have put in nothing into this project. We were expecting to get 20% of the top from the very first minute they begin collecting money. So we have put nothing into it other than offer up our spaces, which would allow us to make money, 20% of the top of the gross. 20% off of the gross.
Profit.
That's before profit. That's why I said off of the top. All right. So
Because there has been some quite significant misrepresentation in the media about that 20%, and I really want to emphasize it. It is before profit. And I will ask Amir one other question while the media are here.
But I still have an outstanding question.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was about to ask Mr. How soon do you see your company earning a profit?
It'll depend on what actually happens on the reality on the ground.
But I mean, you must have had projections.
Yes, we have our projections. I don't know that we need to share that, but I don't know that we need to share our projections. I didn't realize that was a public thing, but we have our hopes, and we know that out of every dollar that we, or every, let's say $200 that people pay per hour for parking, or $50 that people pay per 15 minutes for parking, 20% of that goes to the city, whether or not we make a profit. I know that all the risks that have been mentioned, including the ones that you speak about, security and vandalism, I know that is all on us. Whether we have to spend $1 million or $100 million or $1 billion on maintenance or on fixing things that have been vandalized, that's all our risk.
You might want to go through
And
some
as
of
of
the
now, how much
expenses.
have you invested? Or how much will be the total investment
The total
up to phase 2?
Yeah, so the total investment up to phase 2 is around 10 million US. All right? That's the total investment up to phase 2. And we've said that publicly, and we have no problem. I'm not trying to, hide anything. I mean, I didn't realize that our projections are something that we need to share. We have our internal projections, and we've decided that the project is worth moving forward with, and we're very happy, not just because it's a project that's something from a business perspective, but also because Georgetown will be an important city to our portfolio of cities in which we've impacted a lot of change, and people are very, very happy with our results. As I've said many times to the media, you can take a look, and we've provided to you information of not only the performance, where you see how the amount of money and time that is spent, time wasted looking for parking when people are circling is reduced by 80%, or gasoline that people spend looking for parking is reduced by 80%. But also in terms of public opinion, people that were perhaps as against or even more against than Georgetown might be at this moment, because people either love it or hate it now, but a lot more people will love it down the line. But these very people, just about a year after implementation, are we take public opinion surveys, 80 to 90% of people are very much in favor and say formally that the mobility has improved, quality of life has improved, and many other facets of life in the city have improved. And we're very happy to share that with you as well. I think I've shared it already, but I'm happy to share with it again.
And let us remember, it's not only about the revenue, it's also about environmental sustainability, road safety, social and other cultural benefits that will come to the city. So you couldn't calculate the benefits coming to the city only in monetary value. You have to think about the environment, you have to think about social issues, you have to think about cultural issues and all of that as well. So when you look at it, the city stands to benefit really in an enormous way from this particular project.
And it might be worth emphasizing, though Royston has already said it, that the revenue will be dedicated, I repeat, dedicated to improving the roads
Absolutely.
and facilities
Throughout
of the
the city.
city. Dedicated. It won't be spent on anything else. So the city of Georgetown will benefit directly from dedicated allocation of the revenue.
Is there any specific reason why we're not seeing much of Mr. Kamal Kush anymore?
Mr. Kamal Kush remains a partner and a director of the company. He was the one that had the vision to recognize that there is a need for this, and there's a great opportunity, not just from a business perspective, but also from the benefits that I've said countless times that will accrue to the people here. He brought us in, and we're the ones that have done this in other cities. We're the ones that are really good at this, and we're the ones that have taken over the operation. But he remains in the same sort of function that he had always been.